All right. Well, here we are, everybody. Happy New Year to those that I haven't said Happy New Year to yet. And we're kicking the year off here with a great call with one of my favorite owners, not in our org, but she might as well be. I got to spend lots of time with her in Minneapolis. It was a ton of fun, but let me just give some of the stats with Julia Zmuda, and then we'll get into some of the Q&A and stuff like that. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. But stats for 2022. So if anybody was on this call a little earlier, Julia just bought her first home. So she bought a house in Plymouth, Minnesota. She saved over 100 grand personally last year, and her company also saved over 100 grand. That's kind of nice. That's a little $200,000 savings. Some of it's before tax, some of it's after tax. Personally, I like the after tax money a little bit better. Her promoting owner bonus, 77 grand in PO bonus. So if you guys aren't on the clock for the PO bonus, get on the clock. She ran a killer deal and Will ran a killer deal. So you put two killers together, you get $77,000 for free for doing what you're already supposed to do. Again, she opened up one outside deal, Will in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. So anyway, those are stats for 2022 and rookie owner of the year in B2B res. So, Julie just had a fantastic year. So Julia, if you could just kind of give us a little bit of just what's working for you. I know it's kind of a loaded general question to start off with, but like, what's working for you? Maybe another way to look at that is like, what are you really focused on? Like, what are your big focuses? That's kind of our theme starting the new year off too. Like, don't focus on 10 things. Like, what are 2 things you're focused on? So again, overall, what's really working for you?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the call. I was so excited when you asked, and I'm excited to be on with all of you guys and hopefully get to know you all a little bit better too at Keys here in the next couple of months. So I would love to meet in person. Zoom doesn't really do it for me nowadays, but I think, yeah, I'm definitely like, I think I have undiagnosed ADHD or ADD or something. I tell my mom, she doesn't believe me, but I really think I have it because I'm like all over the place all the time. So I'm definitely the person that has like a million goals. I was looking through the emails between Jamie and I before I got on here, and I was like, I forgot I even said those were my goals, so like I'm sure some of you guys may suffer from that as well, but I think the main thing that I'm trying to do now is just like keep it simple, like Jamie said, and just focus on 1 or 2 things that really make me feel my best. Because when I'm feeling my best and when all of you guys are feeling your best, your businesses do the best, and that's just the name of the game. And the funny thing is, sometimes, like every time I've promoted an assistant manager, which is only twice so far, but like every time I've done that, I've been on vacation both times for a week, and I come back and they're promoted, and I'm like, how does that even happen? But it's like literally just because like the office had momentum or I was feeling good. So a lot of times when that momentum is there, and the thing about momentum that Will and I talk about a lot, and he actually taught this to me, is momentum is like the biggest liar, So, I mean, you guys are hearing all those stats, but I'm like, I don't think I did anything crazy. I think I worked really hard and we had great people. But when you have a lot of momentum, it makes you look a lot better than you actually are. And when you don't have a lot of momentum, it makes you look a lot worse than you actually are. So it's really important not to judge yourself based on where the momentum is, because you don't want to get too high and you don't want to get too low, because really neither one is reality. Right. But 2 things I really focus on. One is getting around people that make me feel good. So doing stuff like this, like if I'm ever in a funk, I am like a crazy on my computer. I literally just emailed Gary Polson and Ken Lear today before I got on this call. And I'm like, I'm feeling weird. I need to talk to you, because they'll just get you like back. Right. And they'll say things to you that build your confidence, and they'll remind you of things that you've done in the past. And it just kind of makes you feel good. But the more that you're around people like that, And in your personal life too, like your significant others need to be a positive influence. Your friends need to be a positive influence. The people in your office, like if you're not excited about anyone there, then start doing second round interviews, because you'll get excited about the potential people coming in, So that's some stuff that's worked for me, is just making sure that the people I'm talking to on a daily basis, or who I'm around every week, are people that really lift me up and get me energized and excited about what's next. So that's the first thing, is I'm just really careful about who I'm around. And I think the second thing that is something I'm still continuing to work on is just not listening to any of the noise. I do my best when my head is down. We had a really good year in 2022, and I think it's hard when you're like 24. And I remember talking to Jamie, I was like, I'm making money and I like don't know what to do with it. We had like a whole one-on-one. I was like, I have actually no idea what to do with any of this. So can you teach me? But I think it's really easy when you're young, especially, and everybody's telling you, you're amazing, you're doing so good, like you're gonna go so far. It's easy to be like, yeah, I am. And you kind of like live in this cloud, and you kind of get away from all of the stuff that you were doing that was making you so amazing. And then what happens is, like, when you listen to that too much, then you kind of go the other way, because you don't think that you need to do the actions that got you there. You think you're above it or something like that. And then you start not getting results that you want. And then you're listening to that voice, like, you're not good enough, you need to do better, like work harder, or I don't know, like you have no idea what you're doing, like I'm sure you guys have heard these voices before. So when I do my best, it's like when people say, you're doing a great job, keep it up, you're amazing. And I'm like, all right, great, thanks, right? And then if they're like, you need to do this isn't working, blah, 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 I'm like, okay, great, thanks. Like I just like stay focused on what I'm doing, trust the process, get back to basics with running an office or coaching people or whatever it is. That was a really long answer to your question, but I think just, getting around people that make you feel good, and then just keeping your head down. Like you can't get too high or too low. You just stay focused on what you're doing. You got promoted to ownership for a reason. So just hone back into that.
Yeah, that's great. And so when I think of you, like I even remember when I was telling Cunliffe that I was moving to Minnesota, he was like, he got all excited. He goes, "Oh, Jamie, you're going to love Julie." And he called you Zmuda at the time. We both learned it's Zmuda. Goes, "Oh, you're going to love her. I want you to spend some time with her." So I'm like, "Oh, I'll hit her up when I get there." And the part that I think has blown Ed away and has blown me away, like your introduction into the business. I want you to kind of touch on this a little bit, so we all get inside your head, because you're saying, "Hey, I'm at my best when I put my head down. I'm not listening to the noise." That doesn't surprise me to hear you say that, because I just look at you like this insane hard worker. Like you've got a really good work ethic, and I'd just like to peel this onion and figure out where how you think through this. But when you're a new rep, you're in Chicago. I think you start off in Chicago. You've got this long commute, I think downtown, where you got to deal with traffic, and you would get to the office at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that. Just walk us through your leadership time in the field and what you were thinking, and we'll get back to this whole keep your head down thing.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was just thinking about that the other day, because I was like, I don't know how I did that. But, when you're in it, you're in it. So when I started, I was living downtown Chicago in Wrigleyville, which was like so much fun when you're 22 right out of college. So I did the reverse commute. So I lived in Wrigleyville, and then the office was in Lombard, Illinois, which is 45 minutes away without traffic. So we were on B2B. So one-on-one started at 7 a.m. and then leaders meeting started at 8. So literally, if I had any chance of being on time, I needed to be in my car by 5:30 at the latest. So what I used to do was I would get up at 4 a.m. and I'm not a morning person. Like, to this day, I have to get up and like watch an episode of The Housewives and drink my coffee before I even start doing, like, I literally get up early to do that, which I don't know what that says about me in reality TV, but it's just my thing. Okay. And it just helps me like, ease into the day, like I'm one of those people. So I had to get up early so I could like just sit down and like drink coffee and read and like not rush. Because if I rush around in the morning, I get really frazzled and I can't like, it throws off my whole day. So I'd get up at 4 and then I would be in my car by 5:30. And I would literally like, it's pitch dark outside. So I would always like carry my keys, like just in case someone's gonna like, 5:30 a.m. It's like not like great in Wrigleyville. But so I would get my car and I had a 45-minute drive, which was kind of nice actually, because that was kind of my time to like decompress. But I tell this story a lot where I remember driving to the office one day. And I mean, I'm leaving at 5:30 in the morning. None of my roommates are up. Like I'm literally in my car, like these girls aren't even getting up for 3 hours. And I'm like on my way to work and I'm going to have like 2 or 3 one-on-ones before their eyes even open, and I wasn't ever like resentful about it, which I think is the mistake some leaders make. Like they're like, oh, my friends are sleeping. I wish I was sleeping. I kind of was like, I feel like I'm getting ahead, like I always felt like I was getting ahead because I'm like, well, nobody else that's 22 years old, like I can guarantee you, no one else is in their car at 5:30 driving to work to be there by 6:15 to make sure that they can do extra prep before their work even starts. And I wasn't getting paid for any of that, right? So it was definitely like entrepreneur versus employee. But I remember driving sometimes and my eye would twitch. Like it kind of happened for a couple of days in a row. And I was like, do I have like facial paralysis? Like what is happening to me? Like my face would literally like twitch. It was so crazy. And I like asked somebody about it. And I actually think I asked a customer because I signed up like a small like private doctor's office or something. And they were like, that means you're not getting a lot of sleep. And I was like, that checks out. Like I get up at 4 a.m. I go to the office, I do my one-on-ones, I do atmosphere, I take an interview, crush the field and train, go do a one-on-one with my guy, home at 9:30, do it all again 5 days a week, like, that makes sense, right? But like I never really got, like I said, resentful about it. I just knew like, Nicole told me this when I first started. Nicole Scofgard, who's one of my mentors, she was like, Julia, what a cruel world would it be if you were working this hard and it didn't work out for you? So that's just what I tell myself all the time. Like if I'm feeling like I'm really, really going and things aren't working or whatever, I'm like, there's just no freaking way. There's no way I don't win if I just like show up every day and give 100%. That will look different every day. Like what your 100% is every day is different. But yeah, I mean, now that when I look back at it, I'm like, now I work from home 4 days a week or 5 days a week because we work 6 days. But I'm like, I don't know how I did that. But in the moment, you just kind of, you do what you have to do.
Hmm. It's interesting how Nicole said that, what a cruel world it would be to, if you work this hard and it didn't work out. I mean, I've always said too, and when I see somebody with a great work ethic, as a youngster getting to know Patrick Bet-David before he ever became successful, it was clear to me this dude had this insane work ethic. So I always said, you can't work that hard and not be successful. The only question is like when it's going to pop. It's not like, well, will they? It's not a yes or no. The answer is yes, obviously. The question is, when will they? But yeah, you're one of those people too, a crazy work ethic. I mean, in college, you were a high level cheerleader, right? I mean, your work back then must have been get up early work. I mean, what was that like too?
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day too. So my college dance team, fun fact, we are getting inducted into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame on February 5th. So University of Missouri Golden Girls, that's the dance team there. So that's what I was on. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much woke up every day and the first thing I would do is go to the gym just because like dancing for 4 hours during a football game. I mean, I'm probably the only person that actually goes to NFL games and watches the cheerleaders the whole time, but like they don't stop. If you ever look at them, like they're never not moving. Like it is a long game. Like you're dancing 4 hours straight. And, I was from Illinois and it was like the Missouri humidity and heat in August. So I really like working out was something I had to do to literally just like get through the game, to have the stamina and like the strength to do it. So I would get up, I would go to the rec and work out there for like an hour, come back, go to all my classes for the day, try to eat healthy so I have energy. And then usually practice would start around like 5-ish. And it was always like 5 to question mark, which is probably why I kind of have this mentality now of like, you just work until the job's done, because that's how our practices were. Like, we're not leaving until these routines look good or until we have everything done that we need to have done. So, and it actually was like a good kind of training tactic too, because if we all wanted to leave, which usually we wanted to be done early, during syllabus week or whatever it was to go to the parties, we like showed up ready to go and we were super sharp and we hit all of our counts and all of this stuff, because we knew if we just did it right the first hour, we wouldn't have to stay for 5 hours. So, that was like really helpful, but it was practice every day except for Fridays. But Fridays we would practice with the band for the game on Saturday. And then Sunday was kind of the day off. But, I didn't really have Thanksgiving or Christmas breaks like everybody talks about in college, where you have the month off. Like I distinctly remember coming home for Thanksgiving, and sometimes not, because we would sometimes have a football game on Black Friday. But I'd usually like go home for 2 days, drive 4.5 hours back to Mizzou to do a basketball game, drive back home to spend time with my family. A day later, like go back. And I would have just stayed on campus, but the dorms closed. So you can't, like your freshman year. So, I've always had a crazy schedule. I still choreographed for my dance studio back home too. So I would drive back for their competitions. But I like to be busy. I don't know maybe where that comes from, but I just like to be busy. I feel like I'm like doing something. I don't do well when I just sit down for a long time. It bothers me.
And do you credit a lot of your success to that work ethic? I mean, when I think of you again, there's 2 characteristics. One is, just great work ethic. You work very hard. I think your people have so much respect for you because they see how hard you work, and you work hard for them, and they know that and they appreciate that. The other part is you're just always, you're either up or you're getting up. You're never down. Now, maybe you do have your moments when you're watching Housewives. Is that what you watch?
Yeah, the
So
Real
maybe,
Housewives. I'm such a sucker. It's so sad.
okay. So maybe there are times when the camera's not on when you're down, but from my perspective, you're either up or getting up. And that's your 1-2 punch that makes Julia Zmuda who you are, and why you've got this trajectory in the business of just, doing so well. Again, last year, but would you put a lot of credit towards that crazy work ethic that you have? And again, you could backtrack that all the way probably to your parents, because your dad's an entrepreneur. So
Yeah, I think like I would actually even put it back to my grandparents. Both of my grandparents, I come from a really strict Polish Catholic family. So like my boyfriend, when he comes home with us for the holidays, he's like, what do I wear to mass? Because he knows we're like going, like there is a schedule and everything like that. My grandpa goes every single day, but both of my grandpas, they both just have like an insane work ethic. Like my grandpa Paprocki, which is like the most Polish name of all time. It's my mom's dad. He worked for John Deere for 40 years and he never missed a day. And like literally, even when my mom and her brothers were born, like he went to the hospital and then he went back to work. But back then it's like what he had to do. I mean, he doesn't like me to share this, but for the point, I will share it. He had to stop going to school in 8th grade because his family needed help on the farm. He was the oldest boy and they lived in Nebraska at the time. His parents came over from Poland. And so he had to stop going to school in 8th grade halfway through to help with the farm and to help the family make money and everything. So when the opportunity came for him to move to East Moline, Illinois, which is like where I'm from, John Deere originated there and he got a job at John Deere. Like he was like, I'm not going to take that for granted. So he just works really hard. And, it's very traditional. Grandma does not work because grandma stays home and cooks and cleans and takes care of the kids and things like that. But I remember my grandpa told me when I first moved to Chicago, he was like, don't forget your roots. And if you're dumb enough to go out the night before, you better be smart enough to show up to work in the morning. And I definitely had some days in Wrigleyville where I heard grandpa's voice in my head, getting up for work and whatever. But I think it's just, yeah, it's just been ingrained in me. Like, if you are lucky enough to work, meaning like you have legs that work and you can walk around and talk to people, and you don't have anything impairing you from like really building a great career, then it's kind of a waste of your time to not show up and do a good job. And yeah, like, I mean, you should just talk to my boyfriend. I freak out like multiple times a week. It's just nobody sees it. So but I think a lot of that is just like swan theory in front of your guys. Like, to be honest, nobody cares about my problems. Like Tucker, who we're trying to promote out, like, we're friends, but Tucker doesn't care if I don't feel good today. Tucker cares about opening an office. So I'm going to freaking show up. And I have like I was showing Nicole, I have like a really bad cold. There's been something going around the office. And I just think it'd be so easy, especially as an entrepreneur. And like when you have someone that can run your office, it'd be so easy to be like, I'm not feeling good today. My ears hurt, my throat hurts. I feel awful. Let's just have them run the show and not show up. But I literally, you have that like devil in your head that's like, don't go, you can empower Tucker. And it's like, you kind of try to start to justify it to yourself. And I always just ask the question, like, what would I expect of Tucker if this is his rookie office right now? I would expect him to show up and bring the energy and like be there for the guys and all this stuff. So I've been pounding emergency all day and taking Dayquil so that for office night tonight, I can like be ready to go. But yeah, so I think it probably goes all the way back to my grandparents and stuff. But I don't know. I just think like, if you're lucky enough to be in a position where people choose to work at your company, you have to show up for them every day. Like, it's your obligation. Like, no one works for you. You're working for all of them. And you're telling them every day they have this opportunity to move into the position that you're in. And like, you can't tell them that and then not back it up, because then you become like fraudulent almost. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of the way that I look at it. And I take it really seriously like that.
Yeah, that's great. If you're dumb enough to go out the night before, be smart enough to finish that sentence. Be smart enough to what?
Yeah, he said, if you're dumb enough to go out the night before, you better be smart enough to go to work in the morning. I hear that like once a month at least in my head.
I'm going to remember that from my kids.
Yeah, that's a good one to tell
I'll
them.
write that down. I'll credit was it your grandfather that said that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys can think of we're going to run out of time here shortly. I have one more question. If any of you have a question, maybe fire it off in the chat. But your goals for 2023, I mean, how are you looking at this new year? What are you looking to accomplish?
Yeah, well, I definitely want to get out 3 more first gen deals. I think we have the people in our office right now where we can do that. And I think it's important to continue to set the pace in terms of running an office. I want Will to promote out 2 deals. I think Tucker could do it too, honestly. So grow the organization. I want our organization to everyone be a part of $1 Million Club too. Trying to do what Justin Hagman's doing. Get all the deals to be $1 Million Club, be hitting consultant level production too. So those are some business goals, but I think some personal goals, he won't see this, so hopefully I get engaged this year. I think we're on track. I mean, he lives with me and like we're Catholic, so I had to, get over that hump. So that has to happen soon, I would think. That'll be fun. And I think too, just getting a little bit more confident in like myself, which is probably more of a personal thing, but I think, when you're young and we're in such a high performing business, you can be your own worst critic. So I would hope to just get to a point where it's like, I trust what I'm doing. I know I make decisions that do right by people, and just continue to like feel a little bit more confident in that moving forward.
Yeah, great. Great. Is it also your boyfriend's goal to get engaged this year?
I think so. Honestly, again, he won't see this. Honestly, I think he would have already proposed, but I've been like, let's get the house. We always make a joke. And I think this is why the only reason my dad is okay with him living with me is because I bought the house kind of a power move for girls on this call. I kind of love it. So I call him my tenant. And I think it's hilarious. My dad thinks it's hilarious. But I was like, let's like, live together first, see how that goes before you do anything. But hopefully he does. Otherwise, I feel like I'm really wasting my time right now.
That's funny. He's like, why are you making me sign a lease agreement? What's going on in this relationship here?
No.
You're my tenant, man. You're my tenant.
I think my favorite part of every month is like requesting him on Venmo. I'm like, rent.
That's funny.
It's so immature, but it's kind of funny.
Do you, landlord, take this tenant to be your lawfully wedded? Yes, I can see how
Exactly.
this wedding's going to play out here.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, Julia, thank you for your example. I mean, I just love talking about you. You're, as I said to you in Minnesota, I've been in the business for a long time, so I've known Brandy Park since she was in her 20s. And you remind me so much of young Brandy, and I bet you, I should even ask Brandy. I bet you remind her a lot of herself. You're young, ambitious, great attitude, great character, and you just have such a bright future in front of you. So thanks for being a great model for everybody. And I hope 2023 treats you as well or better than 2022 treated you. So thank you so much, Julia.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for saying all of that. That makes me feel really good. But this was awesome to be on. I get a lot of energy from doing stuff like this. So I'm excited to see you guys all at Keys in Florida. I can't wait to meet some of you guys in person that I haven't met yet. So it'll be fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. See ya.